Good evening. Effatha, spiritual deafness. There is a remedy if we're willing to apply it. Some people thought that they needed to, and they brought Jesus a man who was deaf. This morning, however, many people woke up, but not to the sound of an alarm clock, but to the whir of a vibrator under their pillow. Those people are truly deaf. Some people are totally blind, and we could ponder over which one be worse, deafness or blindness. But looking back at Helen Keller, who was both blind and deaf, she said that deafness is the greatest handicap. When you're totally deaf, the door to the world closes. You begin to feel lonely and abandoned, and you become a stranger in your own space. This brings us to one of my points that very few people even think about. It's a situation that is even worse than being physically deaf and dumb. That situation is being spiritually deaf and dumb. Those that are spiritually deaf and dumb are unable to speak to God in prayer, and they're unable to hear God. This tragedy is increasingly becoming larger each day of our own lives. In Mary's and my work outside the church, many of our clients struggle with alcohol and other drugs. Some of them ask what their problem is. And they say, is it the drugs or the alcohol, or is it just me that I am a failure and not able to deal with life on my own terms? In response to the oldest problem in the world, it is the need to believe in something or someone. So what can we do about this problem? Lawrence Gould answered quite bluntly. For one thing, we must stop focusing on this word spiritual. We must rediscover and reassert our faith. But how can we do this? How do we rediscover and how do we reassert our faith? For example, what if we are a Christian who's experiencing this problem to some degree? How can we learn again to hear and to speak to God like we used to? Today's gospel points to the answer. We must ask Jesus to do for us what he did for the man in the gospel. We'll take a moment to recall what happened as he was brought to Jesus for healing. The man came to Jesus. Jesus did not go to him. But Jesus took him off alone, away from the crowd, and put his fingers into his ears and touched his tongue. Then he said to the man, Effatha, which means, open up. Mark continues by saying, at once the man was able to hear, and his speech impediment was removed, and he began to talk without any trouble. All who heard it were completely amazed. How well does he do everything, they exclaimed. He even causes the deaf to hear and the dumb to speak. Jesus didn't just heal people during his 3 years of teaching and healing. He heals individuals every day. And it's not just someone in another country, another parish, or someplace else. It's here at St. Gerald's. It may not be verbalized or realized, but healing is happening here and now in our very own parish. Jesus will heal us, but he wants us to come to him. He wants us to ask him for healing for our needs. Jesus is our Father. He wants to help us with our needs. And as we ask him, it's like when we're parents and our own children came to us, they wanted something. Sometimes they got it, sometimes they didn't. But the point is that we gave them what they needed, not necessarily what they wanted. So it is with Jesus. Jesus could have simply said, all those with back pain be healed. Or he could have waved his hand. Or he said a specific illness could be healed just by his thoughts. Jesus wants us to reach out to him. It's like I told you before, it's like a door with only one handle. It's on the inside where you're at, and Jesus is on the outside. He has no way of getting in unless you open the door for him. Of course, he could go in through the door or the wall like he did with the apostles, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants us to come to him. He wants us to reach out and ask him for healing. Mary and I have been watching a special program about Jesus. It's called The Chosen. It's the beginning of how Jesus began his life at the age of 33 and how he chose his disciples and the miracles that he performed. I recommend it highly to all the parish family, young and old, as it brings to life and helps us to hear and see and become closer to Jesus, and it renews our faith. To be healed of our spiritual deafness and dumbness, we must turn to Jesus as the man in the gospel did. We must break away from the crowd, and we must go off alone with Jesus and spend time with him in prayer. Concretely, this means we must set aside time each day to be with Jesus. The demands of life are such that unless we schedule a time of daily prayer into our day, we probably won't pray at all. The important thing, however, is this. Whether we schedule 5 minutes or 10 minutes for prayer or a whole hour, we need to be faithful about setting aside the time. Mary's and my prayer time is right after breakfast, beginning in the morning. And I found that at times I allow the modern world to get in charge and I need to leave early for a meeting. And it's difficult to get back to spending time with the Lord that day. I have to make the decision to do it, to spend time with him. Maybe you can relate it better to taking medication for your health, as I do, or maybe putting your car keys in a special place. If you're anything like me, and if you don't take the medication at the same time every morning, I don't remember if I took the medication or not, and I have to apply myself to remember. The same thing with the keys. If I put them someplace else other than normal, I'm running around at the last minute trying to leave, but I don't have my keys. We all need some type of program in our life, whether it's for our physical health, our daily routines, or our spiritual health. St. Gerald's has several Bible study programs that are available to you all. And if you're interested, please see Father Knecht or myself after Mass. I'd like to close with an example of a note written by a young daughter after she attended a prayer session. She had to wear hearing aids. And she wrote to God and she said, "Dear God, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I wish you hadn't made me deaf. Could you change me back? Signed, Sue. P.S. Say hello to my guardian angel." The next day, Sue found a note. It was written in gold ink and obviously the work of a mother who was as creative as she was living. It read, "Dear Sue, I am your guardian angel and God asked me to answer your note. You see, God made me deaf too. But God did at least give me 2 legs so I can run like the wind, 2 lovely arms so I can hug everybody, and an imagination so I can fly anywhere. But what I really like best is being able to turn off my hearing aid when the other angels are yelling. It makes things quiet so I can better hear God singing love songs to me in my heart. Signed, your guardian angel. P.S. I love you more and more every day." So I say to you, Effatha, be open.